Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing dumper panic. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Check out my socials for extra content. The links are in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing dumper panic. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you probably think we've got everything figured out. But it's simply not true. And if you listen closely, you can hear the telltale signs of your dumper worrying. In today's podcast, I'm discussing 3 situations which can bring on dumper panic. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is sudden loneliness. So it's understandable from the perspective of a dumpee to think, well, my ex made this decision. This was their choice. And if they came to a conclusion that they wanted to end our relationship, then why on earth would they be panicking? Why on earth would they be feeling lonely? Because this is what they wanted. But what you need to realise, dumpees, is that a dumper isn't necessarily understanding exactly what the consequence of their action will be. And sudden loneliness is something which hits dumpers more than you as a dumpee would probably expect. Now, the first consideration is somewhat obvious. If they've ended your relationship, but instead of spending time with you, they are now spending time with someone else, or is that actually going to be more likely they're going to be alone? And that's the situation that most dumpers find themselves in, which they probably didn't really take into account about how they might be feeling post-breakup. Certainly as a dumpee, as I just mentioned, you're probably assuming they're with someone else. You're probably thinking, well, they've monkey branched to another person. Now, although that does sometimes happen, from my research, it is not likely to be the case. It can happen, but it often isn't the reality. Most of the time, a dumper is not replacing you with an instantaneous new partner, but instead, they're actually spending a lot of time alone. Now, don't get me wrong, they might be spending time with their friends, with their family, but this can also be a problem for the dumper, because they don't want to be seen as the bad person. And as someone who ends a relationship, that can absolutely be the case. In particular, if you have mutual friends, or maybe they were friends that knew your dumper before they knew you, but since they got to know you, they now feel really sorry about how this has ended, and they're not really taking your ex-dumper's side, despite the fact that they might have been a longer-term friend. So there is a real possibility that the dumper is going to lose friends over the breakup. Certainly, people might want to distance themselves, in particular for people who know you both. So a dumper has ended a relationship, they are probably not dating anybody else, and not only that, the friends and family they want to spend time with, some of which are probably thinking, well, I don't really want to spend time with you because I feel quite bad about how you've treated your dumpee. So the dumper hits this sudden loneliness, and that brings on the first dumper panic that we're speaking about in today's podcast. It's when reality hits, the feeling of I'm actually alone, and this isn't all that great. Yes, maybe having a bit of time to do my own thing is something that I thought I would like, and I am enjoying it to some degree, but not the amount of time I'm alone. Not the fact that I'm sitting at home alone instead of spending time with friends who are now telling me they're busy or they're not replying. I'm starting to wonder about whether or not the breakup is the reason they are creating distance. Well, guess what, dumpers? It probably is the reason. Now, this isn't going to be for all of their friends, and probably their family will stick by them, but there are definitely going to be people who see this situation play out and are not on your dumper's side. Whereas you as a dumpee are much more likely to have people feeling sympathetic to your situation. you're more likely to maintain the friends and family that you brought into the relationship. And not only that, you might gain some friends which you kind of thought liked your dumper more than you. You thought, well, they're kind of their friends more than mine. All of a sudden, they might be more interested in communicating with you. Now, please bear in mind, I do suggest you are very careful if you speak to mutual friends. If you have someone speak to you who you believe is closer to your ex, yes, that can be very nice, but please be wary that anything you say to them might get back to your dumper. So just bear that in mind. But the truth of the matter is that you as a dumpee are likely to have more support, whereas your ex-dumper is going to feel this sudden spike of loneliness, and that can really bring on dumper panic. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube, and if you have the new hype feature, please hype this video as well. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is, why is my dumpee posting this? So today we're speaking about dumper panic and the feelings of uncertainty that can flood a dumper's mind. And one of the things we need to focus on here is social media usage by you, the dumpee. Now it's interesting we speak from this perspective because I've done a number of podcasts where we are talking about the dumper using social media and you as a dumpee needing to try and protect yourself from what you might be reading or viewing, because not only is it not necessarily accurate or true, but it's not going to be doing you any good whatsoever, irrespective of the reality of what they are posting. But today, we're actually going to be speaking about how your ex-dumper is going to be feeling the same about you. And you as a dumpee are probably thinking, well, I just don't believe that. But it's absolutely true. If your ex-dumper views what you're posting, they're going to take on board what it is that they see. And even if you aren't connected on socials anymore, or maybe you never were, you'd be surprised at how many dumpers want to check out what their dumpee are uploading, posting, speaking about, and showing. So whether or not you are directly linked on socials, maybe your ex-dumper is having a sneaky look, either via asking somebody else to check out what you're posting, or maybe finding a way round of being able to see what you post without you realizing that they are able to do so. I would suggest, dumpees, if you are posting online, not only keep things positive, but remember that your dumper might view any of these posts. So just bear that in mind when you're posting. Consider that they're going to see it. Whether or not you think it's possible, whether you think it's likely or not, just imagine they are, and you should be guided by that as a way of knowing what you should post and what you probably shouldn't be uploading. Because you need to make sure you give yourself the best possible chance of getting your ex back by drawing them in, ultimately through dumper panic. That feeling that they are missing out, that feeling that they are losing you, and they are going to have that feeling if they see you posting on socials positive things, but not only that, making sure your life is moving forward. This isn't just about you posting a photo of you smiling, which of course is great. I'm not saying don't do that, but what I am saying is make sure it showcases your life moving forward in a new direction. It can't just be posts where you're looking good and happy. Yes, that is great, that is necessary. But on top of that, show some evolution in who you are as a person. For example, if you can't drive and you've decided to take driving lessons, post about that on your social media. That is what I'm talking about. The evolution of who you are as a person, growing to become a version 2.0 of yourself. That's the type of thing that can draw a dumper to think about you more and more and create that panic that maybe they've made a mistake. If they can overthink the social media that you are posting, then you are winning the social media war. If you, on the other hand, are overthinking what they are posting, then they are winning this particular battle. So you've got to make sure you win this situation. This is how you can draw them in. If you believe that social media is not going to work for you because, I don't know, maybe you've never done it before, or maybe you've got an account, but you've never really ever posted, and you think, well, I can't just start posting, it will look really obvious what I'm doing. What I would suggest is that as long as you post in a fairly regular interval and not too over the top, you can start doing this. I've spoke to numerous people who have said to me, I don't use socials, so I can't do this. Yes, you can start. And it doesn't matter that you are not connected to your ex. They will likely be suggested you due to the shared contacts, due to you probably being contacts in each other's phones. You know how it works. They will suggest your content to them one way or another, or at least to someone that they know who could then pass this on. You're not showcasing yourself as somebody who is deliberately trying to play a game. You're just showing yourself as somebody who has changed path. And again, as long as you do this in a responsible way, I'm not suggesting you post 5 times a day, but if you go from someone who has never posted, or maybe you did 1 post every 6 months, you can move to 1 post weekly, and that is not too over the top. That is just you showing you have changed. You can't be the same person that your ex-dumper ended a relationship with, because if you are, they won't want to get back with you. So don't be afraid about showing a new version of yourself in regards to actually posting on socials. It can be very powerful if you do it correctly, and this is how your ex-dumper can feel that panic by believing that you might be moving on, that you might be growing as a person, and that you might find someone better than them to be in a relationship with, bearing in mind and remembering point number 1, that they are probably feeling lonely, and if they believe that you are living your life in an exciting way that they just can't get their head round, guess what? It's going to draw them in. Now, just a quick caveat to this, it's important that you do have truth based within what you post. Yes, post positive things. Yes, be selective in what you speak about and show, but don't outright lie. Okay, that's not going to help you. You've got to be authentic. You've got to be genuine. If you're posting a photo, don't add a filter. If you're posting a status or a quote or whatever it may be, don't put something which isn't true to what you believe. Don't put something which isn't true to what you're doing. It's got to be real, but just make sure that real is something new to what they believed they understood about you. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is territory battle. So territory battle might sound quite a fancy way of describing something that you don't realise that you and your ex-dumper are doing every single day. And that is trying to figure out where you both might be and at what kind of time might you be there. Because not only are you unlikely to want to bump into your ex, but your ex-dumper is also very unlikely to want to bump into you. Now, this as a dumpee might be a revelation. You might be thinking, what? Really? They are panicking about that? Yes. Dumpers are unlikely to want to bump into you, the dumpee. Just as right now, you probably don't want to bump into them. Now, there might be some dumpees listening and you think, I do want to bump into my ex. I want to try and persuade them that this breakup was a mistake. But listen, you do not want to be doing that, dumpees. That is not going to help you. If you inadvertently bump into your ex-dumper, then I suggest you keep going where you're going, but smile as you walk by. Maybe say hi, but keep going where you're going. If they try to stop you, then that's fine. Have a conversation. But you shouldn't be deliberately trying to seek out your dumper. So even if that's in your mind, I would suggest that is a bad idea. If it happens accidentally, then fine, but not deliberately. Whereas your ex-dumper is also thinking similar things regarding they're not really feeling that comfortable about bumping into you, just as I think most dumpees would probably be thinking themselves. Because you don't want to be acting in a way which is overly emotional or awkward or anything like that. So you as a dumpee probably don't want to be doing that. Your dumper certainly doesn't want to. And this is where the territory battle comes into play, because your ex-dumper is somewhat panicked by not knowing where and when you might go. Now, like I've just said, I don't suggest you deliberately do this, but on the same hand, you shouldn't be prevented from doing things that you naturally and generally would. So I don't want you feeling that your territory is shrinking because you would normally go places, but now you feel you can't go. Now, post-breakup, you might initially be very, very wary of going to these places that your ex-dumper might be, even if it's places that you used to go and maybe need to go. But I would suggest it comes a point where you need to be trying to take some of that territory back. Now, please remember, this is not about you deliberately trying to bump into your ex. That is not likely to help you. This is more about you going places you used to go or maybe need to go and not feeling that you can't. Just because you're worried about bumping into your ex-dumper is probably feeling the same way about you, but they shouldn't have all of that territory, okay? So what I suggest is that you go through some self-preservation. You look after yourself, your health, your fitness, your mental health, and making sure that you feel as good as you can be, and then you can start to go the places once more that you used to go to. Now remember what I said a moment ago. If you do bump into your ex, keep going where you're going. Walk by them, smile, say hi, but don't stop unless they try to stop you. If they try to stop you, it's fine, because they might want to have a conversation, and that, of course, is good. But if they don't, smile, say hi, keep going. This is what you need to be doing to try and take that territory back, and this will create panic in your ex's mind because they are feeling that they can't control the situation. Remember, this is not about you deliberately trying to bump into them. It's about you going places you always used to or always actually needed to. Take some time out, self-preservation, grow as a person, recover mentally, physically, all of those things so you look and feel your best in case you do see your ex, but then start to do the things you used to do. Because we don't want your ex feeling that they can just have all of this territory to themselves. You can go the places you used to. You can do the things you used to. Don't feel pressured by your dumper that you can't do these things. Yes, take the time out to prepare for it, but then you can go back. And your ex-dumper will be feeling nervous that you might do this one day, but why shouldn't you if these are places that you used to go? And the benefit is, if they do see you, then not only will you hopefully be looking your best, but you'll be acting in a way which is very attractive, smiling, saying hi, but keep going where you're going. Don't stop unless they stop you. This shows high value, and it can be very, very attractive to your ex. Now, if you live in the USA and want to support my channel, then please consider shopping at Calvin Klein using the affiliate link in the description. Calvin Klein is a fantastic brand to help both men and women look great and feel confident. As a Calvin Klein affiliate, I may earn a commission if you make a purchase at no extra cost to you. Thank you for your support.